Everybody. Yesterday, Justin Trudeau held a town hall in Quebec, and while he was there, he met with Premier Legault. And reporting says, Mr. Albert Bill is tweeting, Quebec will get a 20% reduction in immigrants and receive $130 million in assistance, while the remaining provinces will receive an increase in immigrants. Sounds like an election's approaching. And yep, and further to that point, Mr. Trudeau knows that immigration is going to be a huge hot button issue, and he knows that he has to perform in Quebec to maintain a majority or even power at this point in time. And so what is he going to do? He's going to capitulate. He's going to tell them, yeah, no problem, we'll reduce immigration in Quebec. Why? Because he speaks French fluently, and he can message in Quebec easily while messaging the rest of the country in English, right? And so here's the news article. It says, Globe Mail reporting, Trudeau offers to work with Legault on temporary reduction in immigration levels. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau demonstrated a new willingness to help Quebec Premier François Legault temporarily reduce immigration to the province by more than 20%, even as Ottawa promotes higher immigration as the key to a stronger economy. I scroll down. Ottawa's readiness to work with Quebec on its lower targets marks a change in tone for Mr. Trudeau, who has criticized the idea last month. So I want to point out here, making an agreement of a 20% reduction in an open border leaves room to continue to keep the border open. I think this is an absolute garbage deal. I think that you continue to demand the border be closed, the people be deported, the people who do not qualify for status in Canada. Period. 90% of the people coming over the border at Roxham Road do not qualify. And in fact, a lot of them are criminals fleeing charges in the States. I mean, this is, and the holes in our immigration system are just abhorrent. And that is all due to Mr. Trudeau and his terrible immigration minister, Ahmed Hassan. Awful, 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 terrible things that these two have done to Canada. So, but they know this, and in order to get reelected, in order to get enough seats, because that's all this is about, they're capitulating to Quebec, saying, yeah, we'll reduce it by 20%. And I guess Mr. Legault is quite happy with this. Look at that smile. These guys, buddies, 20% reduction is still, what's the increase this year? Just in Quebec, just in illegal crossers? It's incredible. 20% reduction means nothing when the numbers haven't even been normalized yet, honestly. So here is Justin Trudeau's exchange in the town hall. First, he escorts a yellow vest out, and it's in French, and I don't speak French fluently, although I'm getting better. I'm impressed. I have 450 odd days on Duolingo. Yes. So, but the most heated exchange, as reported by Global News, and we'll watch in a minute, and it's again in French, but we're listening for the audience jeers. Okay, so the most heated exchange came on immigration after a woman asked Trudeau why his government had signed the UN Global Compact on migration without consulting Canadians. Trudeau responded that the entire world is being thrown into a migration crisis and that signing the agreement would allow Canada to share its approach and cooperate with other countries on matters of immigration. I want to point out here, the world being thrown into a migration crisis is 100% the fault of the United Nations for declaring migration a human right, and Canada for saying, yes, please come here, no matter where you're from, you're a Canadian too. And for some reason, virtue signaling to anybody who will pay attention, and now the people are paying attention, they're just getting angry at Canada. So Canada stands alone on the world stage simply because of these ridiculous policies. Thank you, Justin Trudeau. You can own that. Back to the article. This is a pact that in no way limits Canada in its sovereignty to determine how and who we will accept as immigrants. Trudeau said. There's a great deal of false information spreading on this subject. We're going to get to the false information spreading too. There's another side to this story that we're going to look at before the end of this video. So it's interesting to me that we hear the jeers, and Global News doesn't link to it, but we're going to go watch it right now. So this is right when Trudeau is talking, and I'm going to try and line it up with the Global News article. We'll see how it goes. So here we go.
OK. Très bien. D'abord, OK. Ce pacte sur l'immigration, OK, c'est un pacte qui, en aucunement,
limite
le Canada dans sa souveraineté de déterminer comment
to determine how
et qui on va accepter comme immigrants. Il y a
accept
énormément de fausseté qui se propagent sur la question de cette pacte. Mais sur votre question, s'il vous plaît, sur votre question exactement, pourquoi pourquoi je n'ai pas demandé l'avis aux Canadiens avant de le signer? Je vous donne deux réponses. D'abord, on a...
Okay, and I'll leave it there. There is more jeers, and previous to the woman asking the question, there was more jeers as well, because he started touching on immigration and talking about immigration, and she said, "You're dodging my question. You're dodging my question. Why did you sign it?" And then he says, "This doesn't limit," and he doesn't answer the question. He says, "This doesn't limit our sovereignty. It doesn't. It doesn't remove our choice of who we determined and when, etc." And that's all patently not true. There are a lot of countries who have 20 countries who have refused to sign on to the Global Compact specifically because of concerning language in the Compact. And we don't want to be a dumping ground for any and everybody who can just get here. That is not how you run a country. We have a welfare state. We have a country that supports people who can't support themselves. You can't have that along with an open border. You can't have free, quote unquote, taxpayer-supported healthcare. Taxpayer-supported is not free healthcare in an open border society. It doesn't work. You get bankrupted. You get people taking advantage. And people know this. And people are watching it in real time with their tax dollars, because our deficit won't be balanced. Our books won't be balanced until 2040 because of your ineptitude, Mr. Prime Minister. Unbelievable. And the other side of this coin is censorship. So Mr. Trudeau is clearly stating that there is a lot of false information being put out about the Migration Compact. That is, whether he believes that to be true or not true, there's false information being put out about everything. He says, quote, "There's a great deal of false information spreading on the subject." And yes, your government does engage in spreading false information about the Global Compact on migration. What you tell people is not true. And instead, though, the rebel media is being targeted. And I'll read to you what has happened. So essentially, Rachel Notley is coming to kill the rebel. And the rebel has very, very, very flashy headlines, right? But read beyond that. And this is very, very scary. It says, "Notley's preemptive legal attack on the rebel. On January 14th, 2019, that's 4 or 5 days ago, the government of Alberta put the rebel on trial, but they didn't tell us. They convicted us in our absence. And even then, they still didn't tell us. But this hired gun of theirs, Madeleine Malchuk, started contacting our vendors, interfering in our contracts with those businesses, and threatening to come after those businesses if they didn't comply." So they didn't bring the complaint directly to the rebel. They went after people who work with the rebel and said, "These guys are guilty of this offense, and if you work with them, we're going to go after you too." Back to the article. Quote, "We didn't even learn about this from the government. We had to hear it from the Alberta businesses who were threatened. We still actually don't know how the details of any complaints against us. We weren't there when we were convicted. We weren't invited. It's all been done in secret, just like the Human Rights Commission attacks." Here's some background, and then you can read some more links in the description. This is really concerning in the scope of, and I've been saying this for a while, if you start saying alt-right people don't get free speech because alt-right speech is hate speech, then all you have to do is claim somebody's alt-right and then not even really prove it, just tie them vaguely to it. And that's it. And then their tactic is to go after your money source, your job, your welfare, your ability to continue to pay yourself, to feed yourself, to clothe yourself, to house yourself, by threatening the people who work with you. Like MasterCard, like Patreon, like all of these other things, YouTube monetization. And it's interesting. It's almost like they're operating with some kind of skeleton framework, like somebody out there is telling them what to do. Hold on, Justin Trudeau, could you tell us who you most admire in government? Just off the cuff,
There's a level of admiration I actually have for China. Because their basic dictatorship is allowing them to
turn their economy on a dime, he says. But I wonder if silencing journalists and putting people in gulags to re-educate them, and I wonder if that's part and parcel of Justin Trudeau's Canada. I'm encouraged to hear the jeers. I'm encouraged to hear people are upset about immigration, and this deal, this 20% reduction in immigration. If I were Legault, if I were the provinces, if I was in charge, the premier of any province, and Trudeau offered me a 20% reduction, I'd tell him where to shove it and tell him I'd see him in October 2019, because he's going to lose, and our borders will be closed again. Check out the People's Party of Canada.ca to get rid of this, in my opinion, buffoon of a prime minister, potato face Justin Trudeau. Thanks for watching, everybody. Check out the People's Party of Canada.ca and Maxime Bernier. Have a good day.